Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're unpacking something literally mind-bending. We're looking at how one of the most complex, intricately detailed ancient texts in all of human history actually contains the exact blueprint for modern science and cutting-edge digital architecture. It's this brilliant collision of ancient philosophy and modern tech, and I'm honestly so excited to guide you through it. Let's just dive right into this wild paradox, right? Can a document written thousands of years ago really solve today's biggest, most modern challenges? Well, we're looking at the Mahāpaṭṭhāna Part 3, and we're going to see how its ancient analysis of reality could fundamentally change how we build artificial intelligence, and even how we approach global peace. It bridges millennia of human thought in a way that feels almost impossibly relevant right now. Here's our roadmap for today. First, the ancient logic network. Second, beyond linear cause and effect. Third, the math of reality. Fourth, designing ethical AI. And finally, number 5, a blueprint for peace. All right, let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, the ancient logic network. So the text we're exploring is the Mahāpaṭṭhāna, or the Great Book. Now, this is the 7th text of the Abhidhamma Piṭaka in the Theravada Buddhist tradition, and scholars recognize it for having one of the most complex logical systems in the history of human thought. It's completely dedicated to explaining the exact cause and effect relationships of mind, matter, and all cognitive processes. And actually, it all revolves around one specific number, 24. There are 24 Paccayas, or conditions. The text uses these 24 conditions to prove that absolutely no phenomenon in the world occurs in isolation. Everything is part of this highly delicate, deeply intricate network governed by these variables. Literally nothing happens alone. And because nothing happens alone, this text entirely deconstructs our conventional idea of the self. The mind, our behaviors, they aren't these independent, isolated units operating in a vacuum. Instead, you've got to think of them as intersections. Just imagine a busy city intersection where traffic, weather, pedestrians, traffic lights, they all converge at once. The resulting flow of that intersection isn't one single thing, is it? It's the real-time reaction of all those overlapping elements. Well, your perception and your actions work the exact same way. They're just the resulting crossroad of massive, complex relationships and conditions interacting all at the same time. Moving on to Section 2, beyond linear cause and effect. Okay, so once you grasp that everything is an intersection, our whole traditional view of cause and effect has to fundamentally change. Modern scholars actually point out that this ancient text acts exactly like modern complex systems theory. In this scientific framework, a single phenomenon isn't just a cause or just an effect, it's both. Simultaneously. Think of a thriving forest ecosystem. The rain is a cause that helps grow a tree, but then the tree's shade is an effect that subsequently causes new moss to grow. You see, the universe isn't just a straight line of dominoes falling, it's a completely dynamic, multi-directional ecosystem of causality. You know, Western logic is usually strictly linear, right? A directly causes B. You push the first domino, it knocks over the second. But our source text uses nonlinear logic. Specifically, it explores relationships through anuloma, which is the sequential arising of things, and Paccayas, the ceasing or rejecting of conditions. This means it's analyzing how things are created and destroyed at the exact same time. It's basically asking us to step entirely outside of our linear constraints and look at the whole web. It recognizes that the absence of a condition is just as powerful a driver as the presence of one. Which brings us to Section 3, the math of reality. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds like beautiful, abstract philosophy, but let's ground this for a second. Logicians and philosophers have actually translated this exact spiritual framework into hard structural mathematics. Let's break it down together because it's actually incredibly elegant. In this equation, which is derived straight from the text, y is the resulting phenomenon. But it's a function of x, the entity, pi, which represents those 24 ancient conditions we just talked about, and c, the surrounding context. So this mathematically proves their core thesis: a single cause never, ever acts alone to produce a result. And this nonlinear, multivariable equation aligns perfectly with the Buddhist philosophical concept of causation, or the tetralemma. Now, unlike standard binary logic, which just asks true or false, or 1 or 0, this system entirely shatters that limitation. In the tetralemma, something can be, it cannot be, it can be both, or it can be neither. I mean, just think about how revolutionary that is for logic. It allows for nuance, paradox, and context in a way that a rigid binary system simply never could. It is just a totally different paradigm of truth. All right, Section 4, designing ethical AI. So, why does all this matter today? How is a multi-directional mathematical logic from antiquity deeply relevant right now? Well, the answer lies in modern cognitive architecture and artificial intelligence. Because right now, today's AI is largely stuck at step one, basic data pattern matching. Large language models are great at predicting the next word based on massive amounts of historical data, but they don't actually comprehend the nuanced web of reality. But researchers suggest that by applying this ancient nonlinear framework, where context and 24 different intersecting conditions are mathematically weighed, developers can fundamentally evolve AI. We can push it past just regurgitating data to genuinely processing profound ethical causality. Just imagine building AI that doesn't just execute a task, but actually maps out the complex, multidirectional consequences its actions create across different ecosystems. This ancient text could literally provide the blueprint for the next massive leap in machine reasoning. Let's hit our final segment, Section 5, a blueprint for peace. Let's zoom out one final time here. We've gone from individual mind intersections to math, all the way to AI. Now let's see how this exact same network theory applies to the deepest social conflicts within our own human ecosystem. When society looks at violence or division, we almost always focus on the surface level, right? The short-term triggers and the visible clashes. But the Mahāpaṭṭhāna introduces Upanasaya Paccaya, the deep accumulated historical conditions. It's essentially the difference between treating the symptom and curing the disease. Systemic bias, history, structural conditions, these are the true long-term drivers of conflict. And really, understanding this complex web of underlying variables is the absolute only way to design sustainable reconciliation. As we wrap up this explainer, the true weight of the source material becomes incredibly clear. The Mahāpaṭṭhāna Paccayas Part 3 is far, far more than just a theological text. It is a profoundly advanced blueprint. It proves the absolute interconnectedness of our reality and outlines an ecosystem of logic where no single thing in the universe is entirely separate. Nothing exists in isolation. Everything is part of the grand equation. So I want you to look at your own life, your own mind, and the conflicts around you. What hidden conditions and intersections are shaping your reality right now? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible ancient blueprint. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.